I filibustered past 9:15, and I apologize. I guess because I came on at 9:06, that's where my clock is. I'm a minute off. So yay me. And so, of course, we know what this means. After opening kickoff on a Walpassian Wednesday, that means we bring in our buddy Tyler. And check the lighting. Check the lighting. It looks like the iris has been opened up a little bit. It looks like a little brighter there, Tyler.
Yeah. I think the angle of my light's just a little different today.
Okay.
Maybe it's better.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean that's how it rolls. So our friends at the Purple team, they apparently decided to just handle it internally and hit reply all and save and send. And so Duncan McGuire doesn't have to worry about all the chaos of Blackburn Rovers anymore. He's hanging out till 27-28 because I guess Orlando City figured out their own email system and learned from their friends at Blackburn to hit save and then hit submit and then reply all to make sure that Duncan McGuire stays over the next handful of seasons.
That has been like a roller coaster of emotions for Duncan McGuire. That's wild. Like I remember, obviously we all remember in the transfer window where it was just like that. Was it like an Allstate commercial or whatever it was? Affleck with the dollar bill and the fishing pole. He's like, yeah, so close, so close. Like you're on a plane, you're on your way over there.
Gotcha.
So bad, man. The thing is, from Orlando's perspective, like if you got rid of Duncan McGuire, it's not like he's great. Like especially coming out of college, he's been great for the team. But you get rid of Duncan McGuire and you don't have a ton to offer as far as, that bigger guy up top or that kind of target forward. So you almost have to keep him. It makes sense to keep him. And especially if the Blackburn Rovers deal just doesn't make sense anymore from a financial perspective or whatever, like, I think common sense has to prevail here, and also not putting this poor kid back through the ringer that he had to go through a few months ago. So.
Yeah. So they just decided we're just going to handle this ourselves. We're gonna hang tight. We're gonna sit there and it's on us. It's on us. We're good. It's all there. So Duncan McGuire stays. What I kind of did transfer news in the beginning for opening kickoff. Have you ever spent as much time as I'm sure we all have over the last X number of hours trying to research an Uzbeki center forward?
No. No, not even kind of. But I'm in the boat, though. I'm in the boat.
What was you're talking Barco again? What?
No, whoa, no. Hey, I like that. That was good, though.
Barco boat. Yeah, hey, that's where we were. So yesterday we kind of walked through his history, his MO, what he brings to the table, and the fact that he wore number 61 and had the first name on the back of the jersey. We don't have any kind of an update this morning, but the Palace intrigue continues with everything finishing today. So you got to get whatever you're getting done. If you're in Major League Soccer, you got to get it done today, or it ain't going to get done unless it's a free and you're looking at even Perisic or something like that. Oh, it's a free, and we'll go over here. Yep. So no updates, but it's an interesting chase to go after someone in Serie A who at 6'3" has spent time on the left, not a lot, but he has been known to be on either wing, but has spent most of his time up the middle, and it brings another idea to the table possibly for Atlanta United that we have to keep an eye on.
I think it's always beneficial to have those guys that, you don't need a jack of all trades, right? But you need a guy that is adaptable and somebody that can play. Everybody is going to have a primary position, right? Like that's just how it is. But having a guy knowing the left wing as it stands right now, we've had the discussion on here, on our show, everywhere. Like the left wing right now just needs help. It does. And if Daniel Rios and Jamal Tiare are both guys that are giving you something, but the left wing is not, and you bring in a guy that's 6'3" and he can actually maybe give you something on that left wing, then you find a way to get them all on the field at the same time. You add in Miranchuk and you've got maybe an entirely new set of, goal scoring fiends up top. And Is that why they're primarily bringing him in? I don't think so. If it does go forward, because at the end of the day, Atlanta is always going to be looking for that guy up top that's just a consistent goal scorer. Is Eldor the guy? I don't know, but we'll see. And the other thing I would really quick caution everybody is just that if you don't hear any news today, that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Recently we've seen with Atlanta United and many other teams where, deadline day happens and you're like, dang, the window's closed. And then the next morning you get an announcement. So that's the only thing I'll say. I know people are just like jonesing for something, but just be a little more patient, just a little bit longer.
Jarrett, are you jonesing for something?
Oof. I guess the window to be done at this point.
Wow.
Well, no, here's the thing, man. Like, we are we are watching in real time what I say, and I said this during the last window of like, look, nothing's official until the dude is standing there holding up the shirt and people are snapping pictures and flashbulbs are going off. Go look at Charlotte. The thing falls through.
That's next.
Now, I have questions about how realistic the Miguel Almiron thing was, because like you can throw down the money. I've seen like 2 reports of, was it a dispute with Almiron and his agent, or was it a dispute with the total fee for the club? I don't know, but I'm not sure how realistic that one ever was, just because it was going to cost you a lot of money up front and probably insane wages.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, their window turned real damn quick.
Yes.
And this thing is like, everybody was absolutely losing their minds over the Charlotte window, and now it just looks like a window. And they might go try and grab somebody. The thing, and to Tyler's point, is like, not every team negotiates through the media and through the Fabrizio Romanos of the world, which, let's be honest, and Bob is a S tier source, but it's kind of similar to the Wojs of the world or the Field Yateses of the world, where agents and teams can leak things that they want to leak to move stories in a direction publicly. That's just how business is done. It's not good or bad. It's not right or wrong necessarily. It's just how business is done. But you might not hear everything. Remember the Luis Araujo thing? And I know it strikes up bad memories for some people. Whatever, I don't really care. That one just kind of popped out of nowhere. Your Uzbekistan, the move kind of popped out of nowhere. Some teams like to do #TeamNoLeaks. That's just the way you operate. We've seen RSL do it lately. Charlotte did with Stanks. We didn't hear about that one until they thought they were damn near across the line with it. So just get me through the window. Atlanta's got another VP spot to play with in the winter. You need to pull out the most effective rail gun you have in that winter window, I think, though, because I mean, look, you're grouped out of Leagues Cup now. You're just watching the chaos of Leagues Cup. But what you're dealing with now is like you're rushing through the visa for Maranchuk, and then you're seeing what you get across the line. And one of the problems with waiting this late in the window to get it done is you still have to wait for visa processes for whoever it might be. So it might be another 2 plus, maybe 3+ weeks before it gets fully across the line, and where they're in uniform playing, getting up to speed. That's one of those things you wanted it done earlier in the window, but what you want and what happens are not always the same thing.
And Jarrett has basically gone through our entire rundown of the show this morning, where it's Eldor. And by the way, there are 280 character reports on Eldor training at AS Roma, all in the group except Eldor, who worked separately, probably due to an increasingly imminent transfer. Solbakken absent, will go today in Empoli for medical visits and signatures. So it appears that Eldor might have been training to the side when it comes to the AS Roma practice of the day. And so it is a race. in trying to figure out it, getting to, deadline number one. Would it happen? Then, what else goes on? But traditionally, Atlanta United has been a club that is team no leaks. It's like, look, we find out from the outside in. It is not something, Tyler, where it's the inside out, because that's not how you negotiate and negotiate successfully at the end of the day.
Yeah, and we've talked about how Atlanta is multiple times. And to Jarrett's point, like you're going to have some teams that maybe are a little more lax on the way that they allow maybe information to flow. Atlanta's not one of those teams. And I understand probably more than anybody, the just desire to have something to hold on to, because I think at this point the team just needs something. Like in Charlotte's case, I mean, they're not having a terrible season. They're having an average, pretty decent, maybe slightly above average, better than they have before season. And so their fan base is not quite as irritated and frustrated as Atlanta United's right now for a variety of reasons. You just keep hoping that there was that big thing to hold on to. But then it's also worth remembering, like, you did get a guy who, though Atlanta fans haven't seen him yet, he hasn't proven himself to them. He comes with a lot of advertisement in a good way, right? So it's not that the entire window is just a bust. I think it's just everybody is just holding on to, trying to hold on to something. And whether or not this deal happens, or maybe there's another one again that we don't know about, that may be one of those, 12th hour type deals that we hear about tomorrow or something. I don't know, but that's just the team that you're a fan of right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just how they operate.
We could let's get into the Miguel Almiron stuff, shall we?
Let's do that.
But so to that point, man, like, that's, I know, to Amelia's point, the idea of like Charlotte, trying big things. I think Atlanta tried their big swings with Stephen Berwine.
Right.
There were a couple other rumors of an MLS team came after so-and-so for like a $15 million move, and we're told no. I think Atlanta swung big. They just didn't hit anything, which sucks, because you do want to bring in that talent, but you also have to find that line between bringing in the big talent that can make a difference and spending $15 million just to spend $15 million. And it's a tough line to balance. Like, I think Mananchuk will be fine here. I think he can be very good. Do you get this other deal across the line? I don't know. Can play a number of spots up top. Can he be a difference maker? I don't know. But yeah, you got to find that balance between spending a bunch of money just to do it and finding guys who can make a difference, whether they cost $5 or $15 million.
Right.
Also, shout out to Philadelphia, by the way, for I know they've already got the replacement in house, but Jose Martinez going to Brazil is gonna. I think I don't know where Rich is when I need him, but I saw for a minute, because Jose Martinez is the heart and soul of that shithousery that Philadelphia knows so well.
Let's see, 24 minutes in. Okay, cool. Yep, 24 minutes in for the explicit rating. Well earned as always.
Absolutely.
Charlotte, Jarrett, to your point, Charlotte went from having a possible window, a successful window, all caps, italicized, boldface font, quote, quotation marks, all of that, to just being a conversation piece. And, obviously, we can look at Miguel Almiron, and it appears that there was, we talked about it yesterday, and I kind of wondered just how it all kind of works. Are you the guy that comes into the subdivision where the sign says no soliciting? You go wandering into the subdivision, you knock on the door, and the folks are at Newcastle. They're looking through the peephole, and they're going, really? Okay, they didn't read the sign when they walked in. It's like, you open the door, you answer the door. Yeah. Hey, what about Miguel Almiron? And then Newcastle has to kind of put up with the conversation. And as it turned out, some sources were saying that the initial offer, and this was almost instantly poo-pooed by Lee Ryder of the Newcastle Chronicle, apparently the paltry offer that Lee Ryder referred to, Charlotte apparently came to the table with $10 million as their initial offer. And Newcastle, you would think, was looking for something a lot closer to, say, 20. And then the whole thing just kind of went, it was not going to happen. And then it gets even more interesting with Stings and trying to bring him in. And it ends up there being, well, we see something, meaning Charlotte, and I'm going to go to Mike Verwei's social media just to break it all down and how it appeared through the eyes of Mike, who works at the Telegraph. Looks like Bergwijn might be meeting with Panathinaikos. So Calvin Stings, the way that it apparently fell down is that it ended up, Stings pulls the plug on the whole thing. And it was one of those where Charlotte had an issue and they were thinking, okay, let's take a peek at it. And then Calvin Stings was like, nope, not leaving. Too much uprooting, not happening, not going to do it. And so Charlotte goes from chasing after Calvin Stings at Feyenoord and possibly Miguel Almiron at Newcastle to just kind of sitting there and us talking about things that didn't happen.
They might get one across the line before we're done, and maybe it'd be an amazing move. Totally possible.
True.
But, it's been a 4 days.
Yes, it has. Apparently, giving Stings a medical. Then they were kind of like, well, can we get a cut rate deal because we see some things? And then they were like, well, no, you can't. And it seems like it seems almost like the folks up 85 wanted to, Tyler, kind of go with Dollar Tree here. And they kind of take the Dollar Tree approach to try to get folks. And it's like, well, the car's got a bit of a ding. It's got some, it looks like somebody keyed some of the paint here. Can we take a little off there? Can we do this and do this? That's where Charlotte seems to be so far with what they're doing here in the window.
I mean, you got to shoot your shot, right?
True. Yeah, that is true.
I'm not mad at them for trying. I mean, it would have been a massive knife to the heart for any Atlanta United fan, but it's business, right? Like and do I think that, like, I've seen some people that are like, oh, well, they're just doing this because of Atlanta. I mean, no, any team with any kind of brain would love to have a guy like that on their team, period. You'd be crazy if you didn't. But I think a lot of the silly season transfer window stuff that we see, there's a lot of times there is a kernel of truth to it. And
yeah, absolutely,
you got to go out. I'm sure Atlanta in the same sense has probably sent offers to some players that we would be like, what? But hey, if it happens, let's go. But
exactly.
The realistic, the possibilities of it actually happening are probably very slim to none. Well, this is one of those that I think, not that it was just like completely out of left field, because, Miguel Almiron is a guy that could go to most leagues in the world, but there's something to be said about going somewhere where you are at least somewhat familiar. And if the pay is right, why not? So I don't think it was a wild one. It was slightly less than wild, but you got to give credit to Charlotte for trying.
No doubt. As we look through this, I mean, that's the beauty, Jarrett, of silly season, is that you're in a dynamic where you're going to go ahead and shoot your shot. LAFC, they're going to shoot their shot. They bring in the most handsome man in Major League Soccer. They're going to keep adding folks. LAG gets Marco Royce. They're bringing him in after paying the dibs fee to Charlotte. So Charlotte got $350,000 richer. And, everybody's linking everyone to Messi and friends. I've even seen stuff out there. And like I said, I got to check the number of sources and followers on 280 character app where Juve, Weston McKennie and Sergi Roberto. I mean, literally, it's like fantasy football, FUTBOL at times. But that's the beauty of these kind of windows, is that it turns into fantasy football, Jarrett, when you're staring at names and places and openings this time of year.
Yeah, it is. And it's nice for us to see because like I, it's nice to have the ideas because like the idea being i- if they're listening on Miguel Almiron, can pick up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I say that because Atlanta needs a win on and off the field, man.
Yeah, they
Like,
do.
and you need someone who you would end up with if you just went and YOLO'd it and went to Newcastle, like, hey, we got an open DT spot. I heard you were talking to Charlie. What was the negotiation like?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that number. Oh, okay, what was his number? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, we know he can do it. Okay, yeah, let's talk. Um, because it would give you someone proven, um, who's proven that he can do the job in this league
Mm-hmm.
and be a hell of a PR win for the club, frankly.
Yeah.
Love to see,
Something to hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I I would be interested, and I don't know how much of an answer we get on this. I'd love to know where they shot and missed because every now and then we get those sorts of things from little tidbits of
Yeah.
like, this club reached out to this player, and that player either wasn't interested or the selling club wasn't interested. Like, oh, wow, so and so like really took a big swing and it didn't work. So you're trying to take big swings, but some things eventually got to land other than untruth or the possible new signing kind of sort of maybe possibly might happen.
Yes.
So we got the rest of the day. I'm sure there will be dumb things that happen in the sense of you can always we see this in other sports. I know soccer transfers being more complicated, but we do see it in other sports where it's like 5 p.m. in the afternoon, you pick up the phone and you can make happen. You see who's available for what. You see not just as a buyer what's available. You see someone as a seller who's going into the end of their window, going, "Hey, we're about to lose the MLS window as a place where we can potentially sell a player. So we need to go ahead and see if anybody there wants to take part in a deal in one of these guys." And you gotta find a deal sometimes.
Yep.
So selling urgency is just as important, I think. But man, let's get through the day. Let's see what it looks like. The winter window shapes up to be very interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a tricky, different window because with the winter window, uh, you're in the middle of a European season. Like if you want to go hunting in South America, fine. But if you want to go hunting in Europe, you're in the middle of the season there, and it can be a little trickier. It can be guys who have fallen out of favor halfway through the season. Um, it can, it can be, guys who are deemed surplus because of a big winter move, but it's a different thing because your schedules are so flipped. So I have no idea what that will look like. Getting way out over our skis, even thinking about the winter window right now, you settle in with your 10 and you see what you can just kind of grind the pace here for the last stretch.
Yep. So as things have gone on over there at Scarves in Spikes, what you guys have a poll up? You've wasted 0 time this morning in putting a poll up about whether or not Eldor gets signed by the end of the window. See, I was looking at the 280 character app. I saw the poll that you posted on Scarves and Spikes. When you guys are having your PM show and the discussions that you guys have on your version of the Twitch pitch, what are folks talking about more than anything? And what have they talked about since Atlanta United was eliminated in Leagues Cup? What are the main talking points that the fans bring to you and the rest of the guys over at SNS when you guys have your evening show?
Where are the signings? That's mostly it. Why are we not having rumors?
Mm-hmm.
The summer transfer window is the easier of the two.
Yeah.
Right. There is impatience, which is understandable. I'm not saying that necessarily in a bad way. I mean, I get it. people, like we've all said, like I said, like Jarrett was just saying, like people need something to hold on to. They need a win off the field. You're not winning on the field right now because you're out of Leagues Cup. So,
Right.
I think everybody at the end of Leagues Cup for Atlanta kind of at least held on to that because they've been kind of apathetic. They were holding on to that, well, at least we have a couple of weeks left of the summer transfer window and maybe we'll get some good news so that we can be excited going into these last 9 games of the MLS season. And unfortunately, that just hasn't happened. And, I'll say, I think it would be silly, as painful as it might be in the short term. I think it would be silly to go and try to force a signing just to force a signing that's not going to fit. I don't think that's proper use of money, even though you do have, whatever, $35 million of it. Still, it's still not being a good steward of the money. And now the time sucks because you have to wait until the winter to try to make something happen. And it's not that the winter transfer window is a bust. And this is kind of what other people have been talking about with us as well. You can get plenty of good talent in the winter for MLS. It's just, you're not going to probably see as many big splashy signings as you would see in the summer just because of the way the schedules and the calendars are laid out. So I think it's very similar to kind of what everybody is saying in the Twitch pitch here, kind of what you're seeing on, line, but it's just a feeling, I think, of frustration, maybe no urgency is what it feels like. And just, again, a little bit of apathy because people are just kind of tired of watching the team not play well.
Yep. In looking at the latest stuff as we've been discussing the transfer window and familiar names. Okay, so the number 10 search talks currently inactive. Charlotte had agreed on personal terms, never had a verbal agreement with Newcastle. So that comes from Tommy Scoops over at GMS, Gimme Sports. So that's his latest update. Newcastle wanted upwards of 20. Charlotte bid an initial 10. 2 clubs couldn't find common ground, barring a last-minute change of heart from either. Talks inactive. Clubs never reached an agreement. Charlotte working on potentially bringing in a player on loan before the window closes. Sources say won't be of the same profile as Almiron. Paraguayan international would have immediately been one of the best players in the league. Yes. Charlotte Calvin Stings. We talked about Calvin Stings. Prior to those deals, Charlotte worked to sign Giovanni Lo Celso. We talked about that yesterday, but the player couldn't commit before seeing what options might be on the table at the end of the transfer window. And so Lo Celso, Stings, Almiron. You brought in Tim Ream, and you've re-brought in Karl Świderski following a loan to Hellas Verona and signed young Israeli forward Idan Toklamati, who is, once again, that's another search engine that you're going to have to figure out. So, but that's the thing is that you've got front offices that have their systems, they have their analysis, they have their contacts. And so this time of year in transfer windows, don't be shocked if you hear a name from a location that isn't, top of mind when it comes to your viewing habits. I think that's the other thing is that as the game continues to grow here in the United States, the windows of looking for talent open up as well. And, that way that, God bless your scouting systems, your recruiting programs, all of, God bless Huddle, basically, with what you're staring at these days. Just don't be surprised if you hear names from unfamiliar places. That's the beauty of this as the game continues to go.
But you got to balance this shit. You do. I get that you're looking for guys that fit a specific profile when you're crunching numbers, but you also got to trust your eye test to an extent.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to be able to find that balance of living your life like you are, like you're Tampa Bay or the Dodgers, but also trusting your eyes in getting someone who can be a some bitch at times.
Yeah,
and you got to find that balance. It's tough. Tough
yeah.
to do that. We'll see, because ultimately, my feeling on it is personally, I wanted to see more in this window. I think Maranchuk is a good signing. I think he can be very good here. I think all of his, you look at his underlying numbers, which look for the last 2 years, that's all I've heard from people. is wanting more of a push in the analytics direction and finding those guys who can come in and just do the job. I think he can fit that. And playing at Atalanta ain't nothing to sneeze at. They've been they've been like an attacking steamroller
Mm-hmm.
for the last few years. But yeah, I mean, personally, I was hoping to see another big splash, and I think they worked on it. You get the sense from some of the rumors that they tried to go big and didn't necessarily land it. If you do, by the way, the new player you're linked to was once referred to as Becky Messi,
Yes.
and that's my favorite thing in the world now. Um, but uh, if it is like a $5 million deal kind of thing,
Yeah.
that's also in the range of potentially being bought down in the future too. So that's not terrible in the sense that you can however you want to balance that. If that's the thing, and if it's 5 million, you can potentially buy it down and get him out of a DP spot in the future too. So I think it does give you some flexibility. And if you're not going to hammer home a an 8 figure move, then at least do one where kind of like the Saba move, where yes, it's a DP, but it's a DP that you will eventually have the potential to buy down to free up a spot so you can hammer that 8 figure move. Go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to bring Turner's question in for Tyler to start things off. Turner says, do you think the amount of money that Atlanta United said they had to spend coming out hurt the club's leverage? If I'm a club and I know you have more money than what you're asking, I'm going to keep pushing the bar higher.
I mean, I think that's definitely – I think you'd be silly to think that it didn't because, again, all this is a business. These are all negotiations. These are all essentially used car salesmen fighting each other at times. And
so the guy comes in looking like Ric Flair in the 1980s, and you've got Tony Schiavone and David Crockett who are trying to sell the car to you. Hey, look at that guy. He's got alligator shoes and the fanciest belt, and he lives in the biggest house in the big side of town. You're going to try to sit there and go, but you want this package?
Yeah. I mean, the wheeling, dealing, profile. Yeah. It's out there, right? It was very public. And there's really no way to not make it public because even if it wasn't shouted from the rooftops, like you still see the reports.
Folks can do math.
Yeah, right. Like it's going to come out that like, wow, let's go back and look at Atlanta over the past year, and we can see kind of how much profit they made on the players that they moved on from. And so
right.
I think couple that with a front office now that is trying to be a little more I don't want to say this word again, pragmatic. Pragmatic's really not the best word for this, in the good way. But that's trying to be a little more, I think, financially
prudent.
Yeah, prudent's good. That's good.
Okay.
You're not going to go and just see them go from like we offered 10, but that's not what they wanted. So let's jump to 20 or 25. Like, I think they kind of set like a hard line and said, all right, well, if you're not okay with what we've offered, then we got to back out. And that's okay. It may be disappointing at times, but I think there is something to say for a team that's like, no, that player is the one that we need. That player is the one that we know is going to be a game changer because both of the statistics, analytics, and the eye test, like Jarrett talked about, it all passes, and we're going to go get them. And now if you go and you give a big offer and there's still like, no, okay, then you back out, you do what you got to do. But yes, I do think having that treasure trove, of gold and Scrooge McDuck swimming through it, is absolutely effective.
Money,
Yeah.
You're swimming around like Cartman in the singles. Yeah. So
yeah.
And everybody knows it.
And to a number of the questions here, in that after tonight closes, where the attention shift is absolutely worth talking about, and that's to manager. Because once tonight's done, once this window is done, by the way, Orlando's closing in on a U22. Again, just out of freaking nowhere. These things could just pop up like whack-a-moles from hell.
True.
But now, after tonight, you shift your attention to management. You get through the summer window, then you start looking at who you want to bring in. I know there was I think it was 99 Fan TV had it. I apologize if I'm misattributing, but I think it was them who had the Patrick Vieira rumor that
Right.
that Atlanta was at least interested in talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
I personally am still a member of the Church of Gio Savarese, card-carrying member from his New York Cosmos days.
Yes.
So if we want to go, and I think he checks all the boxes in that he does have an MLS experience. He's had success. He's frankly had success with a club that spends less money.
Yeah.
And if he wants the project, I would love to talk to him about it. Vieira would be an interesting one in the sense that New York spent money in those early years, but they didn't necessarily spend it well. Like it was David Villa and then the traffic cone formerly known as Andrea Pirlo. That was just weird, man. But he had them on the upswing before he left, and it didn't work in Europe. But yeah, that's where our attention does have to shift to next. Like, yeah, we're gonna have like a little bit of a break before they get back to league play, which is a consequence of getting grouped by redacted Santos.
Yes.
In just an embarrassing game, call it what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the manager search is going to be like it's not going to be like more or less drunk. It's just going to be like a different kind of drunk. Like
you went from the big beer to the hard liquor, basically.
Yeah, you're going from a different kind of inebriated, like where
this might be tequila at this point.
Yeah, are you doing this on cheap beer? Or are you doing this on liquor? Is it cheap? Is it good? It's just going to be a different kind of inebriation. It's going to change the way the world moves when you're that inebriated, and it's also going to change how you feel in the morning. We'll see.
Yeah. Another couple of pieces here from the NY Times / The Athletic. Josh Sargent to all caps is still just about possible. There's a discussion there of 8 figures from Norwich. And they're also Greg O'Keefe is also saying McKinney to Messi and friends less so. So, but yeah, Josh Sargent
all caps spending money after you fired the coach who took you top of the West when you didn't spend a damn dime for him, and now you're spending money is a Joker origin story waiting to happen.
Yeah,
good on you for actually spending some money, SKC. Sorry, all caps. But man, like you just fired a coach mid-year after he worked magic last year and didn't work the same magic this year on basically like a super small budget. Man, this is how Jokers get made.
Yeah, and you wonder what Bradley Carnell might be thinking in this situation. Is he hanging out, sitting there, cursing the land that he used to walk on, and that kind of a thing. Reggie Cannon is also a name that O'Keefe has put out there, considering all of the issues and the contract dispute and the legal case that he apparently lost to Boa Vista. And so now he owes Boa Vista like $1.8 million US after losing a court case. Thomas Roberts is being mentioned. He's at Staubach right now, being managed by Bob Bradley. And we mentioned Duncan McGuire. So there are a couple of other names out there for today. But yeah, Greg O'Keefe mentioning Josh Sargent as a part of what could be happening as everyone's rushing to hear the Big Ben chimes come late tonight. Tyler, what's going on at SNS? What's the latest? As I get my morning coughing fit out of the way and figure out what's going on. Look, I'm just going to say this: the yearly screw up of my colds finally happened. I thought I escaped it in February and March, and instead it happened in August back to back. And so then I had to go see my ENT, and then the ENT, that's when they take the whole lighted. The lightsaber and they stick it down your throat, and they sit there and go, well, there's nothing wrong, but here, try, do this. And so that's why I'm navigating that right now. But what's going on at SNS that folks need to know about?
I totally get it. No show tonight. Let me put a comma there. There is a show tonight. I don't know.
There is a show tonight, period.
No, I get it. There is a show tonight. we'll have the show tonight. We'll have, trying to stay on top of whatever rumors / not rumors come out today with whatever changes may be happening to Atlanta United's roster. And and just the normal moving forward and covering the team as they come out of this window, whatever that may be.
So the normal covering a team on the last day of a transfer window as we monitor everything about players practicing on the side at Roma that are being mentioned, that could be mentioned, could be happening, could not be happening. And so you guys get to be the race to the deadline is basically what you're saying for all the names that we've been talking about.
Yeah, we will have my alarm clocks up here.
Yes.
It's going to look like the stock market at, 8:00 at night or whatever that we're going to have going on. So
fantastic.
We'll see how the day closes out. I don't know.
No doubt about it. Tyler, as always, my friend, it's great to see you. Oh, what's in the mug this morning? Silly me. I forgot to ask what the mug is and what's in it.
Well, the mug is the normal, the normal Scarves and Spikes, faces, all that good stuff. But we ran out of milk, and so I had to use soy milk.
No, you went to okay. So you went soy milk instead of tequila this morning.
Yeah, I could have done tequila as well, but no, yeah, it's soy milk, and it's different, a little different.
Yes.
A little different flavor, kind of like how the club is going right now, which is fine.
Yes.
Just got to get used to it.
No doubt. As always, my friend, great to see you. And I know that you're on your second cup of soy milk added coffee. My apologies. My thoughts and prayers. That's $1 in the jar. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Thanks for dropping by as you always do.
Thank you.